Awesome. Okay, so I love that we were able to find each other with like a common group that we were involved in, and that's kind of how we connected and met. And I love that that was part of our story. And I know that you told me a little bit before, like why you connected, but I definitely want to dig into that more today. So, what do you feel like was the biggest challenge that you were facing before we started working together?
My biggest challenge was uncertainty. I had so many goals and just ideas and things I wanted to do, but I just was having such a hard time taking that first step. I was just so uncertain about what to do. And I would get overwhelmed by the big picture of just, here's where I want to be, here's where I am now. There's this big gap.
Yeah.
How do I get from here to there? So that was my biggest struggle.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. All right. So you were facing a lot of uncertainty and you had a lot of dreams and desires. And I know that you have a business that you're working on. So when it comes to that business and where you want to go, where did you feel like that gap was as far as the uncertainty? What was stopping you from taking action and going forward?
So my idea, my business, well, my brand name is Martha Moves Up. That was my life theme I chose when I was 49. And so from that, I developed kind of a card set with focus words, positive words with quotes and affirmations to help people change their mindset, to create new thoughts, to help them just um, refocus their minds. So I had the card set. That was part of my um, joy, I guess. I really enjoyed creating them. So I created the card set. I found someone to print it. I had the box made. All was well. My problem was getting it out there. I needed a website, and I hired a couple of different people to try to help me, and our visions were not corresponding, and it was just taking a really long time. But technology was just, it was a big obstacle. And so I needed to just do some learning, some research, and just take that step and kind of take the power and the control back to my own, um, I guess, sphere, so I could create what I wanted to create. But I was just so afraid. I just didn't have that confidence to move forward. So that's where I was. I was just, stuck. I knew I had a voice. I knew I needed to reach other people in order for them to see what I was all about and what I wanted to share with the world. But I was just very afraid and scared of technology. And so
Mhm.
I just felt really stuck, uncertain, overwhelmed,
Right.
all those
Yeah.
negative emotions that were not useful at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it so interesting that, like, when we look forward to the future and we think about doing something we haven't done before, it's like our brains don't have a road to go down, so we haven't imagined it.
Yes.
And I know one of the things that we focus on in the program is actually imagining those steps and visualizing what it looks like to take that next baby step. So, what was it that helped you to shift from that uncertainty into being able to take action?
So two things. The first one was our very first session when you just created that visual image for me that had the darkness and the light. And we just went through all of my emotions. It was so helpful. I don't know why I had never done that before, but it was so helpful just to make a list of all the negative emotions on the dark side, but everything I didn't want, but I was currently feeling. And then just on the light to put what I wanted. And I had never really taken the time to even decide or think about what I wanted, even though I probably knew that in the back of my mind, but I was so focused on the darkness and what I couldn't do that I wasn't even allowing any light to come in. And that visual was so helpful also because there was a little bit of light at the bottom of the darkness and then it gradually, gets brighter. And so it helped kind of put it into perspective too. We don't necessarily need to go from dark to bright light even. You can start with this little glimmer of a little flame right here and take that and just expand it, learn, let it warm your soul as you allow more light to come in. So that visual was the very first thing that was very, very helpful just to put into perspective of what I didn't want, what I wanted. Those two things, just that I had a choice also to choose. Do I want this? No, I can choose this. And then I mean, getting there was still kind of in the, I still had uncertainty, which leads me to my next point. The next breakthrough was, I don't know how long ago this was, but it was a hypnotherapy session where you talked about negative emotions being like employees. And so it was time to interview the employee that I had in my mind, and her name was Uncertainty. And it was so fun because my mind is very visual. And as you speak, my mind creates these very detailed stories and images. And I have just enjoyed that so much because I am a very visual learner. And so I'm having this own little movie in my brain, It's so fun. So that day, I was the CEO of my company and I invited Uncertainty into my office. And also, what I loved about it is you told me I didn't have to fire her because I'm also kind of a people pleaser. So I didn't have to fire her. I just had to give her a new role. And that felt so peaceful and so positive to me because I want to empower and help people be their best. And so in my mind, my Uncertainty employee, even though she was not doing her job, I couldn't fire her. So I just had a little interview with her and I just told her in my mind while you were talking, I just told her, you've been here for a while and what you're doing is not useful. And I don't need you to do that anymore. What I need you to do is to take action. I need you to change your role. We're going to change your role together, and we're going to give you something to do that will be more useful and productive and contribute to my team and help me reach my goals and where I want to be. And in my mind, it was so awesome because at first, I'll just share kind of my vision, but first, when Uncertainty came into my office, she was very shameful. Her head was down. She just felt bad. I felt bad. Both of us, you feel the negative emotion in the room. And then as I told her that she was going to receive a new role, her chin lifted, her face lifted. She was so, I guess the word is empowered. She felt like, hooray, now I have something I can actually do that'll be contribute to, you know, what my boss wants me to do. And of course, the boss was happy too, which is me. I hope this is making sense.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so at the end of our meeting, my meeting with Uncertainty, we shook hands. She was smiling, I was smiling. And it was very empowering because then I didn't need uncertainty anymore. And I have used that so much since that day of just that visual. It came to my mind because every time even think the words, well, I don't know what to do, I just immediately go to, well, I don't need that. I don't need uncertainty. Let's take a baby step. Let's find something, one little thing that we can do today that will move us toward where we want to be. And so that was such a big thing for me and has been and will continue to be. I just feel like that's a tool I'll use the rest of my life is
I love it.
I don't need uncertainty. What I need is action.
Uh-huh. Oh my goodness, that's so exciting. I love it. And with the 6-week meditation program, right? We talk about that as one of the key types of sessions. How do we take that role and how do we give them a new job? So I love that that was part of that. And I also hear you saying one of the new identity statements that you created. I remember that you said that you discovered coach was a part of your identity during that 6-week process. So I hear you saying in this, like, I didn't want to fire her. I want to empower her. I want to help her to grow and become the best she can. So, like, tell me more about what you've discovered about yourself through that process.
Okay, so I'll go into my I am statement. So
Yeah.
the word coach wasn't quite there, but it's very similar.
Okay.
So the three words that came were motivator, healer, and guide.
Ah,
And so, and I added some adjectives to them. So now I am a courageous motivator, compassionate healer, and a friendly guide.
ah,
That's my statement. And to go into that just a little bit for a minute, the healer word I was very curious about because I did not understand what that meant. I didn't feel like I was a healer, and I was confused about that. But I wrote it down anyway because those are the three words, and I thought let's just let that sit for a minute and
mm,
we'll pray about that and think about that and see what comes. A few days later, it was very early in the morning. I woke up with the definition, and the words came to my mind. You are a healer because you leave people better than you find them.
mm,
And oh, I just loved that. I just thought that was my desire, first of all, to leave people better than I find them. I love to speak with people. I love to give encouragement, listen to their stories, share my own insights. So it made sense to me, but just having that confirmation and that little bit of more detail and definition on what healer meant
mm.
was empowering. So now I am courageous motivator, a compassionate healer, and a friendly guide. And I love that I am statement. It just
Ah,
makes me feel so happy because it truly does resonate with who I feel like I am. So
exactly.
I really, really love that. Yeah.
Ah, that is so amazing. And especially on those hard days when in the past uncertainty would beat you up. And there's probably an identity of who you were in the past. And during that 6 week program, you were able to connect in with the truth of who you really are,
Yes.
truly
Yes.
finding that power. Go ahead.
And during that 6 week program too, I was really struggling with maybe the world's view of me
Mm,
and things that were have been told or said about me, or just maybe even limiting beliefs that perhaps I just chose to kind of keep. And so I knew deep down who I was, but it was kind of a battle between who I knew I was and who the world was kind of trying to make me be.
mm,
And it was really clarifying to create that I am statement, to really form that alignment visually and verbally with my heart and my
mm.
mind. You know, both
Yes.
of those things with the I am statement. It's just I feel so much more peace. I feel um what is the I guess empowered is a word because now I do understand my true identity of who I really am. And it comes from me, but I also feel like it was a gift from heaven. You know,
Mm,
I feel like the divine, you can call it whatever you want, but I believe in God and I really do know that He knows me and He'd been trying to teach me for a long time, but I just needed a guide such as Penny to help me create that statement,
mm,
to really form the visuals in my mind, to feel the feelings in my heart, and you know,
mm.
have the words to all those three things really aligned. And so it's just been really amazing to feel that and feel that peace coming from within now.
Yeah.
Just who am I? I know who I am.
Mm, that is so
I love it.
precious. It's been such a joy being able to be on this journey with you. So, on that note, usually when I have had mentors and such in the past, it's been more of the authority type of mindset where they're giving me the answers. And one of the things that I really feel is my divine calling is to help others find the answers inside of themselves. So I really love that what you're saying aligns with that desire that I was able to feel inspired and create. And as I open up this space and create these, okay, we're not going to give you the answers, but I'm going to create this space for you to find those answers. So, how do you feel like this program has been different than other things that you've experienced?
Like you just said, it really opened the door for me to find my own solutions, my own path, I suppose. You were a great guide, though. I needed your voice. I needed your words to help create the visuals and stories in my brain. So that's something I couldn't have done alone.
Mm,
But I also appreciated that we really didn't go a lot into like our problems and talk about past mistakes or anything like that. We really were focused on the future, which I think is very helpful. I mean, I think we need to give ourselves compassion and realize that mistakes are made and, you know, the past isn't always pretty, but there's no point in going back and rehashing things that are done.
yeah.
It's more powerful and I think more effective to focus on where do we want to go. And so you were very helpful in creating those doorways, opportunities. And that's what I felt like sometimes. I felt like you created kind of a choice of many doors.
Hmm.
And we can choose which door to open and explore the opportunities and learning experiences that were beyond those doors. And so often that's kind of what I felt like. I opened the door and then there was a whole story waiting for me, something new
Hmm.
that I needed to learn. Um, and it
Yeah.
was super powerful, those visuals, but I needed your voice and it was very
Uh-huh.
helpful as a guide and
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
bringing light also into the story. I loved the beginning, how we bring light
Yes.
just into our bodies. And I feel like that is an invitation to expand our mind, expand our heart,
Hmm.
both to give and to receive.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I feel super grateful that I've been able to use my gifts to be a voice for you. And honestly, when we show up together and I'm 100%, you're 100%, I really just feel like I'm an instrument. It's not me, it's not my words, but I just get to say whatever ideas come into my head and trust what comes. So it's such a
Yes.
privilege to be able to be in that place. So, just kind of wrapping up then, is there anything specifically that you feel like you wanted to share about your story? Anything that's on your mind and heart?
Well, I want to share just the one visual that was super powerful for, well, the second one, I guess. Uncertainty was the first one. The second one was when we talked about FUD, fear, uncertainty, discouragement, doubt, and dread. I loved that whole experience because you talked about a football team. And so, first of all, that's something we can all relate to is just the team members, you know. And I just remember as you were talking, my brain created this really cool story. And so I had this team, you know, and all the negative emotions were wearing black and they were mean. They just had these scary faces. And then we talked about the white team. And on my team, I had confidence, perseverance, hope, gratitude, all these positive experiences or positive emotions. My team leader was faith. And as you were talking, and the team was starting to, you know, kind of start to play, I suppose, and have their conflict. I was the coach on the side, and I was feeling a little bit of this uncertainty as far as, oh no, what's going to happen here? You know, I don't know what to do. I'm not really sure. Then, of course, I took my uncertainty and said, we don't need that. Let's take some action, team. So I just kind of gave, I guess, the reins to my team leader, who was Faith. And
Ah.
in my mind, my team leader, Faith, she rose, like literally her clothes were white and glowing and flowing. And she rose above and kind of looked at both ways, looked at her team, and there was a sense of courage and empowerment, and we can do this. And then they turned and looked at the black team, and that black team cowered. Literally, they all were like just cowering. And this Faith girl, she was so amazing. She just got, I don't know, the smile and her glowing and her clothes flowing, all of it. Anyway, it was so powerful just knowing that faith is the key to moving forward. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in the future that good things are there and to come. But you're not alone. That was the other thing I felt strongly too, is there's this team of positive emotions and I am in control. I can choose those positive emotions to overcome that negative black team of, you know, fear, uncertainty, discouragement, doubt, and dread. They don't need to win. They're
Mm.
still on the field. They will always be there. But my powerful team with my team leader, Faith, they're more powerful.
I love it.
They can push back and they can help me move forward toward the goal. And anyway, I just, that visual of that girl, Faith, as I speak, I just feel this power of this girl.
Hmm.
Oh, it was just
Hmm.
so cool for me to
Yeah.
just visualize and see. And so it was fun. I remember writing down so fast while you
Mm.
were writing, while you were speaking, and I was writing all my what I was seeing in my mind too, because I didn't want to forget because I really felt it so strongly in my heart. And I remember after it was over, even after the session was completed, I sent you that text because I wanted you to know there wasn't time for me to tell you at the
Yeah.
end. So I had to just tell you what I had experienced because it was just really cool.
I love it. Absolutely. And it's so amazing how that shows up in very real life every day when we face our challenges and we face our fears and we're on the field and we're like, okay, I need to take this one next step forward, but fear is trying to beat me up and tackle me down. And what's going to oppose that? You know, faith and all of the positive emotions. So that's so
Yeah,
beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. And with that
So,
too, I think that the
yeah.
key, I guess, to moving toward that goal, I realized too, is it's not one big play that pushes you into the end zone either. You
Mm.
know, there's small plays, it's baby steps. So
Yeah.
it's even though she had risen up and that I had my team in place and we were ready to make progress, it's slow progress a lot of times, but it
Mm-hmm.
is progress. And you can celebrate those wins along the way. And I love that too. It gives permission to take those baby steps and take your time and it doesn't have to be all one big jump.
Yeah.
And most likely, I mean, almost always, it's not one big jump. It is a series of very small little steps, but those are action steps. And that's
Yep.
what I need. That's what I need to
Absolutely.
make, you know, progress and
Yep.
move closer to where I want to be and the life I want to create. So,
Yep, and that's what we do every week in our live session. We
yep,
focus on those three key focuses. That's so
yep,
cool. Love
yep.
it. Okay, so I truly believe that there's someone out there that is an old Martha, that past you, not old, that's not the right word.
I know what you meant.
Your voice is needed to speak to that past version of you. So I want you to just take a minute to look right at the camera, talk to that old Martha, and what do you want to tell that past version of you?
You are stronger than what you think. You have inside you the power to create the life that you want. You can do it. You just take one step at a time, and eventually you will get to be where you want to be. Look for those who can help you along the way, and look for others you can help along the way too. And it may take a while, it may take a lifetime, but you will be who you are meant to be, and you'll become who you're meant to become, and you will reach and touch those who need you most. So keep going. You can do it.
Thank you so much, Martha. It is such a joy working with you. I love being beside you and walking together. You are amazing, and I love seeing the ways that you've grown and being a part of your victory. It's truly
Thank you, Penny.
a grateful blessing. Awesome.
You are a blessing in my life too. I'm just so grateful for this journey and all the things that you've taught me. I've learned so, so much. I just very grateful.
What a joy. Awesome. Okay. Well, that concludes our interview today. Anything else you want to say off the record? I appreciate you very much.
Well, I appreciate you too. And I'm, on the problem solving course,
Mm,
the very end, you talked about kind of your vision for your whole program and things.
mm.
And I do want to be a part of it. I'm not sure how and when, but I am keeping that in the back of my mind. One day when you were speaking, I just remember hearing follow Penny. So we'll see what that means and how it goes
Yep.
and how it plays out. But
Yep.
here I
Trust what
am.
comes. It'll be
Yep, here
there.
I am. Yeah.
If that's a joy. I'm glad that that's definitely part of my hope as well. That there's a place and we're like finding out how to coach together and or like I use the word coach, but for you,
Yeah.
what does that look like? The win-win of what I want and you want and what we feel guided to do together. So really creating that collaboration and
Yeah.
finding that joy. So that's awesome. Cool. Well, I'm
Awesome.
looking forward
Okay.
to that.
Thank you, Penny.
Okay, thank you, Martha. Have a beautiful day.
You too.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye.